Hello and welcome to Allianz Joy to this episode today. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to be here. I wanted to speak today a little bit about having no regrets. So when we come to this aging thing, right? When we become really aware of where we're standing in life and really being aware of our future, growing into wisdom, as sometimes we call that. Just we are having these thoughts sometimes of, I wish I would have done this, I wish I've done that. I wish I would have done things different. But these thoughts can spiral into negative thinking. And today I want to share a little bit of a slideshow with you about having no regrets. I am Elion Haan. I am a life and executive coach. I'm a trauma expert. And I have a little slideshow here that I would like to share with you today. Here we are from the beginning. So, when we're going to talk about no regrets later in life, we're going to look back and reflect, right? And sometimes that does come from the times that we were uh, when we were younger, right? We were younger then, and we just thought that we had everything figured out, and not everything was always going the way we wanted it to go. But when we look back, we do not really want to stay there. And how can we do that? How can we learn to stay in the present moment, just enjoy it, look forward to what we have in front of us, and leaving the past behind? How can we do that? We always start with mindset. And if I knew these things 20, 30 years ago, I would have done things different, right? Because I didn't know that my thinking just really all the time just determined what I was preparing for, how I was performing, how I was persevering through certain situations. A mindset is a set of beliefs that helps you make sense of the world and your place within it. It affects how you think, how you feel, and how you respond to several situations. And the last one is really important. How do we respond to things that are difficult? How are we responding to challenges? How are we responding to trauma and things that are happening in our life? All these people around us, the events, the happenings, the places where things can happen. When we are in that moment, how do we respond to it? Is setting us forward into being prepared and performing maybe different and having a lot of perseverance in that situation. So our mindset really influences those three P's. And I always like to use them because when we prepare and when we are setting ourselves into a good plan or when we have prepared for something, we are also easier or we are also better in performing afterwards, right? Into taking action into certain situations and then really being stronger in that situation, being able to persevere through many things in life. So that mindset, that thinking has everything to do with it. We call that in coaching or in counseling a fixed versus a growth mindset. So that has to do with how we view challenges in life, right? Something, obstacles, difficult things, different times are in, we're right in the midst of it, or they're coming at us. What are we going to do with that? Now, are we going to avoid them? And are we going to be afraid for the things that are coming at us? For instance, if you see a job loss coming, if you see problems at the workforce, right? If you know that you might lose a job, or if you know that you might lose a relationship, you're going through really hard times. Are you going to avoid all things around it? Are you going to avoid talking about it, preparing for something? Or are you going to embrace them? Not in a sense of, oh, yay, what fun, we're going to go through difficult times, but are you going to embrace the challenge as something that you know that you can learn from? And you can make decisions that are actually serving you instead of working against you or are difficult. So you might even think that, this job loss or this loss of position that you were looking forward to. But now you know that the company is downsizing and you might lose your job. Are you going to see that as a challenge, as an opportunity to maybe get a better job or do what you like better? And what you like most, maybe finding an opportunity to do something with that. And are you going to look at that positive? It's not really a positive thing, but can you do something in the moment with it? Can you take action? That is really important to see a challenge as something that you can do something with. instead of avoiding the situation. So all these obstacles and all that effort, right? Do you view them as obstacles, or do you exactly there again see it and put some effort in it? So don't give up easily, but try to persist and persevere and overcome, right? It gives you a much better feeling. You're in a win-win situation there for yourself and probably for your environment. How do you view criticism? That's difficult. I remember myself that I had a really difficult time with that in the past because I was working really hard, or I was really doing something I loved, and I was in a work situation that I really enjoyed. And then if there was criticism, I would take that very personal, right? And I would fear and avoid people that would talk to me like that, or supervisors, or people that had some feedback for me. I would avoid that because I was just in that mindset of, I'm giving it all, I'm working so hard. Can't you see what I'm doing? And then so I was fearful of having to ask for feedback as well, right? I was avoiding it instead of really seeking it and learning from it and being open to some constructive criticism. We're talking about constructive criticism. We're not talking about people that just want to, you know, be mean, or say something negative to you, right? We don't need those people around. How do you view success of others? Are you threatened by it? Or are you inspired by it, right? Do you find it motivational for yourself? Does it motivate you to become better and to just thrive to do more, right? So you find lessons in it and you find an inspiration in others when they're doing good. That is all called a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And with that fixed mindset, you're going to stay into avoiding being fearful, giving up easy, and just not feeling good, feeling threatened by others, right? We don't want that. We want to step into that growth mindset. How can we do that? How can we go there? If you are in that imposter syndrome feeling that you don't belong, or you're not good enough, and you're lacking self-esteem, you're having all these feelings when it comes to stepping into a new situation, then what usually really helps is finding a true mentor or coach to give you honest feedback and make you see how unique you are. I work with my clients a lot on them seeing their own value, their own worth, and adding onto that self-esteem and adding into that confidence, right? Stepping into that courage of seeing yourself as being unique with a lot of experience already, wherever you are in life. You've done things that are unique for you. You have skills, you have strength there, you have the tools to move forward, and just seeing that you belong, seeing your expertise as something that has made you whole. So in that sense, you find a true mentor to help you with that, and you celebrate your wins daily. That's what I do with all my clients. I really celebrate a lot of wins. I really come to that place of, what did we do this week? What challenges did we overcome? How can we see that as a huge win? And then even going back, sometimes we don't look back, and we forget to look back and say, oh, I already overcame that in the past. It was such a huge hurdle. It was such a huge mountain. I thought I couldn't do it, but I already did it in the past and I forgot to look there. So you forget sometimes to look at your own strength and your own wins, right? We forget to look back at the good things. So celebrate your wins and see that success as something that you have brought onto yourself. And have visual reminders of your success, that you win things, that you have little mini Oscars on your desk, right? To celebrate yourself, that you see the medals that you gained with sports, or the wins that you had with other people and that you get awarded for, right? Put your awards around you and see those things that are adding on to your success. And then, of course, self-talk and affirmations will help. And there's also a lot of, what do you call that? A lot of meditation apps for that, right? To do those affirmations and self-talk into great self-esteem. And then also take action over inaction. That is so important. We always want to step into action. When you feel yourself slipping into sense of, I'm not good enough, lacking self-esteem, not having the courage there to get up and do it, then really just do it. Do always the opposite. If you don't feel good, if you don't want to do it, do the opposite and start taking action. Because otherwise, you fall into what we call analysis paralysis. You start overthinking, you start ruminating, you kind of stick into that feeling. And then you just really rather stay in bed than doing the opposite, getting up and do it anyway. So that is a huge win if you can do it. It's a huge win. And that helps with that self-esteem, which is basically that imposter syndrome, right? Not feeling good enough to step into that action. How can you improve that mindset, that positive thinking again? So again, be prepared. Be prepared. And a lot of anxiety um, can be overcome by really good preparation and planning so that you are intentional about what you want. Sometimes I love to say write it down. I write a lot of things down and I write down what I would really like to get out of the day. So I'm being intentional about doing this show. I'm being intentional and I prepared about delivering this narrative, right? And how I would deliver it because it's from the heart. I've been there, I've seen it, I went through it. So if you're prepared, it takes a lot of the anxiety away. For instance, otherwise I would sit here and think, what would I talk about today? Or what would I like to share with you? And then if you're intentional, you can show up with that positive self-talk, with that enthusiasm, with that excitement, with the energy behind it to really do it, to really be there. And it is always perseverance, right? Because then you can see even setbacks and even the challenges, you can see them as a gift. We always say failure is feedback too. It is feedback as well. So even if it didn't go well and if you failed, oh well, just get up and do it again, right? It is the not yet mentality that we're talking about. When we are doing something that didn't work out, it didn't work out. Not yet, but next time it will. So we have to step into that mentality. There are the 5 big regrets. That it was a book that came out in the late 90s, I think. And it was very, very powerful, these 5 regrets. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. That was one of the biggest things that people came up with late in life. And I just lost it for a minute who the author was, but she wrote about people that she worked with, people that were in their later stages of life and maybe on a sick bed that she took care of. And this is what people would say. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected me to live. It's really powerful. I wish I would have not worked so hard, right? Was in there. Of course, that was important. And especially for a couple of generations back when we were less aware of the fact that we could do some time work life balancing there. And it was just expected from us to maybe be caretakers and go work really hard and be all the time at work and be there and do it. Sometimes we would say, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings because we were not really so good at expressing our feelings in the days. And this goes, a couple of centuries back and a couple of decades back. But we didn't really talk so much about our feelings in the day. So that was really important in that list, on that list. Express your feelings, tell others how you feel. And I wish I had stayed in touch with our friends, right? It's important to belong and it's important to have a support system. It's important to have people around you that you feel that you can always rely on, friends and family. And sometimes it's sad. It's sad. Sometimes people said, I wish that I had let myself be happier, just happier, just laugh and be in a joyful feeling a lot more. Right? Just releasing the things that you're holding on. How can we do that? How can we release that past? How can we release trauma and pain that we all have experienced so much? There are 2 methods that I work with. One is release, process, progress, accept, and own. And that has to do with the pain in the past. Try to release it and let it go, not staying there in that moment, but work with somebody, again, with a therapist, with a counselor, with a coach, with a mentor, who can help you with certain techniques and methods to release the pain that you have been through, the constant trauma. How can you release? I'm a somatic trauma coach. So what I do with people also physically releasing the pain and the trauma and the experiences that we have gone through that were not they were difficult, right? They were not nice, they were painful. And if we stay there, then we constantly stay into that circle of pain and into that circle of the past. It's constantly coming back. So we have to process that, make progress during that. And making progress means that we can allow some happiness there, that we can allow some joyful feelings back in, that we can allow ourselves to feel and laugh again and maybe love again, right? And then slowly we come into that period of acceptance and into owning our past. Sometimes I call it move through, with and forwards, because that's what we really want to do. What we want to do is move forwards, not really forget the past, but use it and share it with others. Sometimes storytelling is a good way of coming through your pain and working with your pain and starting to use it to, for me, when I tell my story from the past, and you might have heard it many times, when I tell my story from the past, what did I do with it? I learned so many lessons, and they're in my book, 60 Miles from Demons, right? They're in my book, the lessons of what I have learned from my mistakes, from my choices, and sometimes from things that happened to me without it being my choice. We have to overcome fear. We have to overcome shame and guilt in that case as well, because there was a lot of shame and guilt involved. Even if we are not the cause of what has done to us, sometimes we feel shame talking about it. Sometimes we feel guilty being in that place at that moment. And we have to work. And there's a lot of ways we can work through and we can work with that. So work with somebody or reach out anytime. As a coach, I'm always open for a free call, for a coffee chat, for a Zoom, just for somebody who needs to talk, right? And then we don't want to ultimately be a victim. We don't want to stay there. We want to release anger. We want to release anxiety. We want to forgive. Forgive ourselves again. That's a big part of the shame and guilt process. And then forgiving others as well. Don't let them lease or rent a room in your head forever. Because if they have moved on and you're still sitting there with these thoughts, right, with that elephant in the room, with the pain and with the anger towards somebody else, it is not serving you. So here are a couple of toxic habits as well that you want to avoid, right? One of being envious of others is really big in there. It really just kind of doesn't help you if you're thinking that others, they have it all and I don't have it. You're constantly comparing to others, right? It just leads to envy and that is not healthy, right? Taking things too personally is a big one, right? And you're doubting yourself if you do that. You're doubting your ability to work through things. You're taking things that other people are doing personally, and maybe it has nothing to do with you, right? Just believe in that you're doing the right thing. Believe in yourself. And if the other people have a bad day, let them, right? Let them. Playing the victim is big, right there. You don't want to be stuck in playing the victim and complaining and negativity and negative thoughts. We want to let that go. And we want to let go of pain. We want to let go of loss. If we don't do that, just like number 4 here, right? We're constantly living in the past and we're dwelling on mistakes and we're dwelling on other things that hinder us. We can't move forward. We're stuck. And that's why I say my tagline in my business is I help people from stuck to unstoppable. Because that's where we want to be. We want to have that victory feeling and be unstoppable at all times, instead of staying number 5 in obsessive negative thinking. Again, there comes that ruminating. We're just constantly staying there. We're just constantly staying in negative self-talk, in negative and limiting belief systems, right? Lowering your self-worth, lowering your self-esteem. And that is just kind of like building up in resentment and anger even to yourself because you can't move out of it. And then you'll go next Monday. That doesn't help either, right? Because we're not doing it next Monday. We want to do it now. We want to step out of it. Lacking self-control has a lot to do with it, and sometimes even being over-controlling, right? Trying to manage everything, trying to be perfectionist about everything, and then just not even being able to control the situation. On the other hand, lack of self-control, there, not being able to start healthy habits, work up a little bit of discipline in the morning, starting routines. All that will help you stepping into that victory mode instead of the victim mode. And being judgmental doesn't help at all, right? We just have to let that go. We don't know what other people are thinking. We don't know where other people are. We don't know what they're thinking of us. It is not our business to think that we know what they're thinking or what they're thinking of us. It's just not our business, right? We just need to let that go. It is so helpful if we can focus on ourselves and not on others, right? Because it's just not, doesn't look good on you. Doesn't look good on you. And how many times are we wrong? How many times in the past was I judgmental? And I didn't think that those people could be maybe my friends. I judged them, but I ended up being best friends with them, right? We ended up being really, really close. So that didn't go anywhere. It just didn't help. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know where they are in life. We just have to let that go again. And then being cruel to anyone or anything, it doesn't help. It doesn't help, right? That is not good. We can't hold grudges and blame others and be cruel. That is just not a way to go about it. We want to be nice. We want to be nice at all times. And then one of the last ones here is fear and procrastination. I talked about that, right? We just really come into that fear of failure, which stops you from trying new things every time. And if we procrastinate, we are delaying tasks and increasing stress and reducing productivity. We just can't stick there. We're just not doing anything, basically, because we're going to say next Monday. And worry and worry and worry and assuming the worst just leads again to anxiety. It is just really damaging your mental health. It doesn't solve anything. And we just have bad outcome. We think bad outcome, right? It destroys all hope around us. So it's not really helpful. So being aware of these things are always the first things to creating a new reality. Awareness and mindfulness, just knowing that you're doing it, is always creating a new reality. Always, because you can flip that thought in the moment. When you're stuck in negative thinking or in fear or in procrastination or all the above things, you can change your reality by just being aware of it. That's why it's so important, right? Just staying in the now and staying in the moment. Truly, truly, truly being aware of it. It helps so much to stay out of that negative thinking and just letting go of the past so that we can move forward. We want to have wonderful memories, but we also want to have amazing memories of the difficult times that we worked through because we did the work. And maybe those times were really, really difficult. But if I look back now at what happened to me in my life, I embrace it because it made me who I am right now. It showed me so much. It taught me so many lessons. It gave me a little bit of wisdom, a little bit, right? So I hope this helped you a little bit. Getting out of that no regrets or getting into that no regrets time of your life where you just want to let go of the pain, the past, the things that are holding you back so that you're not later saying, I wish I would have stepped into that happy, happy, happy life that I can create for myself. And nobody else can give you that happiness. You have to do it. Something that I talked about with my client just this morning. Don't wait on others to make you happy. Don't live in other people's expectation frame. Don't do what they per se want you to do. Go with your heart, follow your instinct, and do what is good for you and what serves you. And sometimes you kind of come in the middle with somebody, right? Yes, they would love for you to do something, and it's maybe not entirely you, but you're trying, you're really making an effort. Of course, there's expectations. On the workplace, if I get paid, I'm going to do what's expected of me. But I'm not going to live into some kind of a framework when it's just totally not me, when it doesn't fit me, when I just feel really unhappy in it. You don't want to get stuck there. So I hope that me sharing that with you today had a little bit of impact on you. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope you learned something, or I hope that you just want to just call me for a chat. Elianhaan.net. That's where you can find me. Elianhaan.net. And you find all my social media links there and a link to set up a call and just have a little coffee chat with me. Always reach out. Make it a great day. Namaste. I'll see you next week.